Do we need proxy advisory services? And if so, why do we need them?
Well, you started by saying that I wear two hats. I guess I should add a third. And now that RiskMetrics is a public company, I'm actually on the board of directors of RiskMetrics. So in some ways, I find myself in the, I guess, at times awkward situation of running a proxy advisory firm and being on a board of directors. I'm sure a conflict that many of you out there feel all the time. To start, our clients, fortunately, have decided that there is a need for proxy advisory firms. I think that there are three main reasons they're used. First, as David commented, the amount of, just huge amount of data that is necessary that can quite easily be outsourced. And so there's a large group of institutional investors who use proxy advisory firms like ourselves and others to collect data and to provide them the data necessary for them then to make their own decisions. The second is the mechanics of voting, that a number of firms, again, simply outsource the voting mechanics, of which one can argue in the world of technology, one person can do it, and it can almost be a utility that everyone votes through the same utility. It's really only the third component that I think becomes the controversy, and that is the idea of getting advice. And interestingly, that is the smallest group of our clients. That all our clients use us to do voting. Almost all our clients use us to collect data. It's the smallest percentage that actually use us to take our recommendations and simply vote them. And I think that's one of the unfortunate myths about the proxy advisory, that this proxy advisory firm or that proxy advisory firm owns votes, collects votes, and has a disproportionate voice in any particular proxy voting matter. That is not to diminish the importance of the data collection, the voting process, and the fact that our firm, as well as other proxy advisory firms, do our best to establish what we believe are best practices in governance, an area that I think today's times, like any other, but in particular today's times, becomes all the more important.
Comments? Do you agree with Ethan?
Well, I agree in his discussion about the three ways in which proxy advisory services provides their services. On the third one, however, it appears to me, as an outside board member, that yes, advice is a wonderful thing, and I do think that in a lot of instances, seeking advice from proxy advisory services should be one input. Unfortunately, it's a very large voice of input to a lot of firms. You may view it as a very small percentage of your clients, but it's a very, very loud voice in my perception. And again, looking at it from the outside in, it appears to me that that voice, in some instances, is the sole voice that a number of firms listen to. And I think that as a board member, they do themselves a disservice by not viewing it as an input, but viewing it as, sort of, this is thou shalt. And I just think that that's a problem.
Well, let me add to that. You started the question, David. Are proxy advisory services necessary? And I guess from my perspective, and a board perspective, and a management perspective, I would say yes, unnecessary evil. And if there's going to be 28,000 proxy statements, of course, there have to be proxy services. But Ethan, as I was listening to your comments, I would characterize it as whether you know it or not, you're an 800-pound gorilla. You may tread very lightly, and you may tiptoe around it, but you're still an 800-pound gorilla. And I can't count the number of instances when we were going out soliciting for a vote. Now I'm talking about my target years. And you would talk to somebody, and then the question would be, well, here's our position. Here's why we'd like you to vote for this particular thing. And the response from the candid ones would come back and say, We love your company. We think you're managed properly, even on occasion, and we think you're right on the issue, but we got this fiduciary responsibility and we've outsourced it, and I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. And for every person who was honest like that, there were a lot of others who were checking the box, no matter how hard you're trying to say, don't do that.
Well, I know you've heard that before.
Never.
Is that yesterday's debate? Has that been
Evil
fixed?
800-pound gorilla? Never heard those before.
Darth Vader?
Yeah,
No.
Darth Vader, exactly.
Hey, but is that yesterday's debate? Have you had a feedback loop and you know this is going on and it doesn't go on anymore, or is it still going on?
I guess I would say two things. First, the position we find ourselves in, which has become increasingly more important, especially again in today's times, I think requires us to recognize the leadership position we're in and I believe make some changes to what we've done. For starters, I think we need to begin with transparency. And the black box comment, which David, you referred to and others have referred to, is probably the one I have the hardest time with. Inevitably, I am put myself in the uncomfortable situation of meeting directors and boards that we have made recommendations against, and in some cases I agree, in some cases I disagree, but we respectfully disagree. When someone accuses us of a black box, that's a bad thing, and there's no reason for us to be a black box. We should be fully transparent about what we're trying to do, and I certainly hope that at least out of this 800-pound gorilla, that you all see more transparency out of RiskMetrics going forward. There have been a number of things specific that we've done in that, and I think you will see us being more transparent going forward. As far as our clients, which is ultimately who owns the vote, I think two things are happening. Number one, if you look at our actual business, the fastest growing segment of our business is actually what we call custom voting policies, where while yes, they outsource the voting process to us, they have given us the parameters on how they should vote. So again, yes, we collect the data, yes, we make the votes, but that they've decided their view on separate CEO and chairman is X. It's not the same as what RiskMetrics says, but always vote along their X. And I think that we're seeing that, and I think you will see that with your shareholders. I would also say, and this is no disrespect to our clients or our institutions, it is very easy for the institution to tell you as a company, hey, I really wanted to vote your way, but I can't because I have fiduciary responsibility, when in many cases, they're sending us a survey that says we would like the company to change. So again, I'm not saying that they're being two-faced, but I would say that it is a much easier conversation with a corporation or a board of directors to say, hey, it's not my decision to disagree with you, it's someone else's. They have no fiduciary responsibility to vote the ISS recommendation. There is no firm that has that, nor would I expect that, nor would I recommend that. And we go to no boards of institutional investors and say, if you don't vote the way our benchmark policy, then you're not doing your fiduciary responsibility. All that is making sure that you have all the information necessary to make the decision and then to vote.